Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'm going to walk you through how you can display SVG files in your React Native application. There are a couple ways that I'll show you, and hopefully it will be useful for you in your project. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, here is the starting code that I have here. This is the code we had at the end of previous video, and like always I will put a link to the GitHub repo for the starting code and also the final code for this video, so you can follow along if you want to. So what I'm going to do is npx expo start and start my expo server over here. I have my iOS simulator over here, and once it's built over here, we should see what we had at the end of last video, which I walk you through implementing this bottom sheet for both iOS and Android. What we're going to do, we're going to work in this profile screen. Again, I'm just going to show you how to add SVG files in your React Native application. You can obviously use it wherever you want to. So two ways I'm going to show you do this. One is basically adding your SVG file in your assets folder. This is just a simple SVG that I have. It's kind of like a check mark, and I have a checkbox here. It should be check mark, but that's fine. This is a SVG, as you can see here, just normal SVG that you would have in your web apps or websites. So you have that here. I've added it in my assets folder. Now, in order to use that, I need to do a couple things before I can use it. So one thing I'm going to do is use this React Native SVG transformer. So this is the main library that kind of allows us to directly use display SVG files in our React Native application. As you can see here, as simple as just importing, giving it a name, and directing to the folder, the file that we have, the .svg file that we have, and then we can use it as kind of like as a component in our application. Just keep in mind that before being able to use this library, we need to do a couple things. So we do need to also install React Native SVG. So what you would do for that is basically I'm going to stop the server over here. What I need to do is to install that React Native SVG library. So I'll run npx expo install React Native SVG, as you can see over here. Now I've already installed that, so I'm not going to run it again. And then going back to the documentation, we are going to step to install the transformer library. So to do that, we can also use npx expo install. This one is going to be --save-dev because it's going to be in a development library. So to do that, we can still use npx expo install React Native SVG transformer. This time we do -- and then --save-dev. So this one is going to add it to the dev dependencies. I've already done that. You can see in my package.json file, I have React Native SVG and the transformer in my dev dependency. So I have done that part. The last part is to make some adjustment to your metro.config.js file. So I have it over here. This is a setup that we have to use Tailwind CSS, and I've explained this before, so go take a look at my very first video. I put a link to that as well in case you want to get quick access to that. But all we need to do is actually add this piece right here inside the module.exports to our code as well. We already, I believe, have the config, const config, the get default config, and so what we need to do is only add this. And you can add that right after over here, and that should be it. Basically adding these transformers and resolver to our config, and then we are already exporting this over here. So we should be good over here. Save this. That's all done. Again, we already have our checkbox.svg here. As I mentioned in the documentation, all we need to do is just grab that in our file. So in profile.tsx file, I'm going to import that SVG file right here. So I have the SVG file. Ignore the error that you're seeing here. That's fine. And then what I can do is just add that over here in my screen, as you'll see here. Right now my server is not running, by the way, so I will have to restart that. But all I need to do is I'm going to add a new view over here and grab this one, put it inside that view, and at the bottom of this I'm going to add my checkbox SVG. So again, this is, maybe I should change it to check mark just so that it is a little bit more distinguished. So you have check mark here, and then the file name also, I can change this real quick to checkmark.svg, and do the same over here, check mark. So we're good now. We have this here. Like I said, ignore this error that you're seeing. A couple of things here. As you can see, I can also add width and height to this. So let's remove that. Just import, just use the SVG as it is. And again, I need to do npx expo start over here, start my server, and then I'll click I just hit I on my keyboard to open the iOS simulator over here. And once that's done, if I go to profile, you're going to see this checkbox over here. Now I need to adjust a little bit this view that I added, so I'm going to do that real quick over here. I need to add some tabling classes here and make sure it's all good. So save, and then I have everything back over here, and you can see that my checkbox, my check mark is showing. This is the SVG that I had. Now you can add width and height to it. So I have a width of, let's say, 200, and I need to also do a height over here of whatever, 150. This is going to get basically take the size based on the width or height, or both of them, depending on the shape of the SVG. So if I do 200 over here, you'll see it goes a little bit higher, because previously the width was defining the height as well. But right now, if I go, for example, 300, you can see that I will have like a little bit of a space over here. So, and this is something that you will have to kind of make sure you select, you put right numbers over here. So with that, that's the first way that we can add SVG. Very easy. Only add couple libraries and then fix your macro config file, and then you're set to go. Now, there's another way that we can also add SVGs to our React Native application, and that's using that the other library that we had to install along with the transformer, the React Native SVG library. And if you scroll down, we don't need to do anything regarding the installation and setting it up. It's already good, just the installation that we did. For the usage over here, if you go to this link, this is what they have, and they will actually show you can actually use these different elements from React Native SVG and kind of make your own SVGs with like SVG circle, your height, width, and so on and so forth. We're gonna do a similar thing. For that, I am going to actually create a new component in my components folder. I'm gonna call it Custom SVG.tsx. And then this is where I'm going to add my SVG code basically here. The one thing to note is that since we are using Tailwind CSS, make sure your Tailwind config.js, you have added the proper directories and extensions to your content array over here. So I have added components as well. So all the files that I have here in the components folder with these extensions, they will also accept Tailwind classes. So just keep that in mind. What I'm going to do is I am going to create a quick new component over here. Sure, we do custom SVG, and so this right now is just the custom SVG text. But what we want to do is to add some code over here to build our SVG. Now I'm going to start from a SVG that I can get from Font Awesome. For example, I've searched for home, this first one over here, this is one I'm going to show on the screen. So if you go to SVG over here and then click on it, it's going to copy the whole SVG for you. So I'm going to paste that over here. Now, few things you'll note from the React Native SVG library and the usage that they have is that some of these you need to make some changes. So for example, SVG is now capital S, so have capital S, and that should come from the React Native SVG library. So I'm going to grab those from the library, and also I have path over here. Let me just make a little bit of cleaning over here, and I believe, yep, so this one also needs to be the capital SVG, so I'm just converting it to a code that React Native can understand using this React Native SVG. So we don't need this one. We do need to keep the view box for sure. And then for this font awesome, I'm going to just make sure it's still there because we are using their font, their icon. And then for path, as I have also imported here, we can use the path with capital P. So with just that, actually, we should be good to use it right now. So I have this custom SVG, have your path and everything. This can be as complicated as you want it to be. You can go ahead and add that over here, custom SVG. And if I do that, you'll see that it's kind of outside the screen. So obviously we need to make some changes. You're gonna have to make sure this looks good, but the cool thing about this is that you can actually pass props to this, and this props can actually include whatever you want. For example, I'm going to include a fill color, which is a string, and then let me just copy and paste real quick. I'm going to also copy and add the height and width of this here as well. So this is going to be of type props. And now easily you can actually change the height over here. So I do height is equal, let's see, it's going to be props dot height, and then also you can do the same for width, but alternatively you could also do dot props over here. So it will have to if you add height and width, it will get the props over here. Then for the path, we can actually add the fill color or fill over here. So fill is going to be props dot fill color. So I have these, I need to add those over here. So let's say I have a height of width of 200, just for now I can do it, or let's say height of 64, and then I'll do width of also something similar, 74 for example, and then of course I need fill color red. And if I do that, you'll see that when we save this as well over here, we have actually managed to apply the height and width. Again, this might be for example, if I go 200 over here, the width is going to be the limiting factor over here, so you're going to have to make sure that you assign proper height and width over here and fill color. So the good thing about this usage is that you have very much flexibility and control over whatever you want to pass as props to this. I don't know, maybe there are a few other things that you can adjust in maybe the D here, or you want to adjust view box, whatever you want to do, you can pass them as prop. For example, in this screen you want this size, and another screen you want another size. So that's a good way to use the React Native SVG library as you see it over here. So that's basically it, the two ways that I've also used in my different applications to display SVG files in my React Native project. So hopefully you learned something new. Whichever one of these two is applicable to your use case, feel free to use it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and please like and subscribe to the channel, like this video, and I will see you all soon.